How much money do you gift for these things? I mean, it depends how close they are to me, but I feel like wedding is into the hundreds. I'd probably give a good friend like a few hundred or so. Family more. I'd say the average, though, is probably like in the low hundreds, maybe like 150. Wow, spot on. Graduation, I feel, is less special because you do it like, what, 4 times between middle school, high school, college, than anything else. So it's probably like 75 or so, maybe 100. Wow, 50. Okay, less than I thought. Is a birthday even like a cash event? I feel like this is present or bust. Maybe like 100 also. $30. Jeez. Okay, that feels a little low. Funerals. I don't think I've ever given a gift at a funeral. I guess that makes sense though, right? I mean, funerals are celebrations of life, so it's kind of warranted. I don't know, like 100? 75? Okay. I've never been to a bar mitzvah. Never even invited, actually. But it feels like a 50 to 100 type of event. 100, yeah, higher side. And then quinceañera. I've never been to one, but that's the 15th birthday celebration, right? So maybe like 100 or so. Yeah. Okay. I tried the best burger in the world. So there's a restaurant in New York City called 4 Charles Prime Rib that, in addition to being one of the hardest reservations in New York City to get, also has what many people consider to be the best burger on earth. So what did I do? I waited 3 months to finally get a table so I could see whether or not this was true. The outside of this restaurant was very unassuming, and the inside was even more low-key, only fitting about 30 people in the single room. After taking my seat, though, I peeked the menu only to find that the burger was $37 with the additional bacon and egg toppings, bringing the grand total to $50 for one burger. I also ended up ordering their French dip, which was apparently a must-try, but I must say I didn't really love it, especially for the $40 price tag. Now, the cream spinach and the mac and cheese sides were amazing though, and so I was really looking forward to my bite of this world-renowned burger coming next. So they finally bring it out, and the waitress tops it with the egg yolk and prepares it for my first bite. And after nearly 3 months of waiting, I finally took a bite of the world's best burger, only to find that it was good. I'd say an 8.5 out of 10. Save your money. I found every YouTuber's first short, and it's pretty wild. So shorts were first introduced 4 years ago in September 2020, and many creators immediately jumped into them, like Mr. Beast with his first short having him roll a Whopper down Chandler's throat, and Ray William Johnson, who spent his first 60 seconds roasting an e-girl in a pretty savage way. My first short ever posted was a few months afterwards in the form of a Wikipedia speedrun where I gave myself 15 seconds to go from Minecraft to LeBron James, while Ryan Trahan's was a 60-second summary of his famous Penny Series video. A lot of streamers like Speed and Aiden Ross treated their first short like a story, informing fans that they were banned from going live, and some creators even had shorts that were well before 2020, since YouTube retroactively categorizes any old vertical sub 60-second videos as shorts, like this Ludwig short from 2015, or even this Trisha Paytas selfie video from 2014. And while both of these were early, during my research I accidentally stumbled upon the first short ever created on YouTube, and that actually belongs to Jenna Marbles, who uploaded this video on June 16th, 2010. It gets even crazier though, so go watch the full video to see the rest. I literally watched every single YouTube video. So my friend Lemmy made a program a few months back that scraped the entire catalog of every single publicly available YouTuber, and thus put literally millions of videos in one massive zip file, from which he took the first second of every video and stitched them together, which ended up being over a month long, and so instead decided to have 144 videos play 1 second each simultaneously, refreshing every 1 second, which made the video now just 4 hours, and so I figured I'd watch it all so I could be the first person in history to watch over 1 million videos. Now, hour 1 was pretty stimulating as I was recognizing popular YouTubers while also realizing how large YouTube actually is, since 90% of the other panels were unbeknownst to me, but hour 2 was significantly worse as I started to get overstimulated and frustrated because I couldn't find my own videos. Hour 3 came around and I think my brain just couldn't comprehend the level of dopamine we were producing from constant gratification. Then came hour 4, which was quite euphoric because at the end of my journey I realized that I'm the only person in the world at this point who has watched every single video on YouTube. But I guess you could too though, so go check out the full video to watch every single YouTube video ever. I put a $10 bounty on a random person. So I placed 50 of these flyers that stated "Find this man, win $10" all over Times Square to incentivize local bounty hunters to see if they could find our subject. The only restriction I gave him is that he had to stay within this outline radius to keep things fair, and that he also couldn't do anything to draw attention to himself. Now, as expected, nobody seemed to care for about the first 45 minutes as he was just existing without the slightest reaction from New Yorkers. But shortly after that, and this could be paranoia, it felt like he was getting some looks, but obviously this doesn't count because he needed to be confronted. Now, not gonna lie, he had a pretty solid plan, which was just to keep walking around to reduce impressions on his face, and this was working pretty well for him until he started to get a bit too comfortable and started talking to the cameraman, which obviously began to draw attention to him. He then was getting hung hungry, and so he walked into a McDonald's that was literally right outside where we placed a bulk of these flyers just to prove a point. And I kid you not, while he was ordering food at a kiosk, a man came up to him, but it was actually just his friend. So no money for the bounty hunters, but it's actually crazier odds if you think about it to run into a person you know in New York City. So I'm satisfied. I played games that nobody else is playing. So only 40 people were playing Asian Truck Simulator, which requires you to transport a bunch of logs across a mountain, possibly cannon, before jumping into this anime matching game that rewards you with pictures of these girl aliens. Surprised more people aren't playing this. Even less played than that though was Turd Simulator, which had you maneuvering your way through a sewer trying to defeat enemies. Highly recommend. And Sashimi, which features this swole fish fighting his way through crime. Master Boy is a Chinese Steam game with only 5 players, which has a young boy running around a meat market fetching different meals for these female shop attendants. While My First Date RPG is an 8-bit Japanese game chronicling the first date of this young protagonist. Hyperbowl was an even more obscure bowling game that reminded me of those animations that they have up in bowling alleys, while Crash Test Idiot invoked GTA comparisons despite being significantly worse with only 8 total players. But the least played game with only 3 people total ever playing the game at the time of posting this video is called Daydream, which is basically Super Mario Bros. As a Japanese schoolgirl with some pretty questionable elements. So go watch the full video because I tried every discontinued snack over the last 30 years. So I was scouring eBay and I came across some of my old personal favorites like Dunkaroos and Oreo Cakesters, then one thing led to another, and then my house ended up looking like a Walmart from 2007. I started off with Altoid Sours, a classic, but this hadn't been opened in 22 years and so it was understandably not in the best condition. I had other candy though, like Lime Skittles, the original green flavor that was replaced by Green Apple in 2012, and then crunchy M&Ms that were discontinued but had a pretty pleasant crunch to them. I then had the original Kool-Aid flavoring in these bursts, which was fun but a lot more sugary than I remembered, but it definitely tasted better than Pepsi Blue, which was Pepsi's take on berry soda. I even tried Haribo's sugar-free gummy bears, which were discontinued because people were literally shitting their pants because it has a well-known laxative in it. Now some were really gross like the Orbitz drink and this macaroni and cheese flavored ice cream, but by far the worst discontinued food of them all had to have been the Sprite Tropical Remix, which was definitely a good choice to cut off. So go watch the full video to see the rest. I tried every themed fast food meal, starting with Dunkin', and they had a Glinda Pink refresher drink with blueberry pumps and an Elphaba ice cream matcha, and these were a really cute pairing. And while I did individually enjoy the taste of both of them, they definitely didn't pair well together, unlike the movie. Popeyes was next as they were serving a Five Nights at Freddy's 2 meal, which intrigued me as it was garlic parm chicken tenders, mozzarella tots, orange Fanta, and a pink mystery cake. And these were actually some of the best fast food items I've ever had, period, with those cheesy tots being perfectly crispy and cheesy, and the tenders having a perfect flavor profile. The cake, on the other hand, not so much. Taco Bell partnered with Frank's Red Hot Sauce to create Diablo chicken nacho fries, which is exactly as it sounds, and it tasted great with a good balance of spicy and salty, and it really had me excited to finish it. Starbucks had all their Christmas themed food and drinks like this polar bear cake pop, which was fun and tasty, a peppermint mocha hot latte, which was festive, and a caramel brulee latte, which I got because I like the name. And then I ended things at McDonald's, which had a collaboration with Chips Ahoy to make a frappe with cookie crumbs on top of the whipped cream, and as a big Chips Ahoy fan, I liked it, but I wish there was more cookie. Very cool though. I watched every YouTuber apology video to see which one was the worst. So the best apology definitely came from PewDiePie, who kept it short and sweet by calling himself an idiot and continuing onward after his notorious slip up on the PUBG bridge. Other YouTubers like Logan Paul, who apologized for filming a dead body, and David Dobrik, who apologized for covering up abuse, felt a bit rehearsed and disingenuous. The same can be said about Shane Dawson and James Charles, who both had lukewarm apologies for their respective grooming situations, though they didn't really age too poorly. The Fine Bros apology was pretty bad because they basically called their audience dumb for not understanding the lawsuit, but Laura Lee was arguably a bit worse because she definitely used some eye drops to convince her audience she was crying. Now the second worst apology I watched came from Sienna May, who used some sort of interpretive dance to convey her message and then brags about her God-given talent of being a creator. But by far the worst YouTuber apology video I've ever watched actually came from this year, from Miranda Sings and her patented ukulele. So go watch the full video to uncontrollably cringe. These are some living relatives of historical figures. So Hitler has 5 surviving members of his family, with 2 living in Austria and 3 in New York, and they've actually all made a pact to ensure that they're the last in their bloodline, unlike Mussolini, who has a granddaughter named Alessandra, who currently serves as a member of the European Parliament and has even posed for Playboy. Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr's descendants are actually boating buddies and canoe club members despite their family's history of dueling. Similarly, Harry Truman's grandson and Hideki Toho's great-grandson have squashed their differences after the nuclear fallout in World War II, and they're looking to do nonprofit work together. Joseph Stalin's granddaughter is now very American and lives in Oregon, practicing Buddhism with tattoos and an affinity for guns. Albert Einstein has a great-grandson named Thomas, who ended up being a doctor and a scientist of his own, while Christopher Columbus's 18th great-grandson, Cristobal Colon, is actually a commander of a naval vessel in the Spanish Navy. Runs in the blood. And finally, Confucius has a 76th generation descendant named Kong Ling Ho, who is actually one of the greatest table tennis players to ever exist. Pretty cool, right?